what's going on, everybody? Just want to make a video today on the double bass pedal. Really just pedal adjustments in general. So from starting out here to now, like what I mentioned in our last video, recording our first song, kind of things I've learned down this journey of how to get the speed and the power out of the pedal that I want. Going from honestly knowing not a whole lot to doing lots of research, lots and lots of trial and error, and figuring out kind of what worked for me personally, but really just things that I feel would benefit a lot of drummers starting out and save a lot of time and headache if you just kind of knew these few things. So getting down to it, what are some of the most important things I feel like will impact your ability to play fast, powerful, clean double bass pedal notes, or really just even single pedal notes if that's what you have. This really applies to both. So some of the things here, as you see in here, we got the spring for my double bass pedal. Right now this is a DW5000 pedal. That's currently what I'm playing with. I like the sound, I like the feel. Really just the double chain has been right for me personally. We can talk about that later too, the options you have there, whether you're going single chain, double chain, direct drive, belt driven. You have quite a few options there, and really a lot of that comes down to personal preference and the music you'll be playing. But some of the first things that I realized watching some videos, reading some posts online, and just trial and error kind of helped me to drastically improve my ability to play was messing around with the spring tension. So as you see here, we got, this is the standard spring that came with the DW5000 pedal. You can change this out for a high tension spring they sell online. But by twisting this little knob here, you can unlock the spring, and then you can push down and go ahead on turn this little nut here at the bottom and adjust the spring tension, and it'll hold it there. Right now I got it kind of set where I like it. It's going to be off of your size, body weight, height, all sorts of different things, seat position. We'll play into kind of what works best for you in order to attain a good feel for you where you're not really straining as you play for those long sets, or try and really get the power that you want depending on the technique. And we can go into that in a different video as well, heel toe, you know, kind of just the different options you have there as far as play style. But starting out, spring tension here, really important for me. So originally starting out the gate, I thought lower spring tension, I'm going to be able to play faster. So I dropped the spring tension all the way down. Easier to push down on the pedal. I assume instant speed, maybe even get a little bit more power because I can push the beater faster. Didn't work out that way. Come to find out, it's a balancing act there. Really for you, based on what you're playing, the technique you're using. For me, it's a little bit on the higher tension side. I use about 3/4 of max tension on the DW5000 standard bass pedal. Really worked for me. I know some other drummers who use full spring tension or even have to upgrade to the high tension springs to get the tension that they want out of the drum pedal. But just going out the gate, testing around with what you feel like you need out of the drum pedal. If you want a little bit more power and responsiveness, maybe upping that spring tension. As you can see here, my beater moves pretty freely and keeps moving for quite a long time. And then if you were to drop that tension down on that, obviously that would reduce that amount of carry through that the beater has. So really just making sure what's right for you, testing it out. Really there's no right answer is kind of what I found, which is kind of hard for me to grasp. I was looking for that ultimate, this is going to work for everybody answer, and really comes down a lot to personal preference. But I think for a lot of people, just messing around with that spring tension, not just setting it as low as possible, because also what I found, that is the easiest way to maybe play a little bit faster, get those quicker notes that you want. But at the end of the day, it's going to ultimately, what I found, hurt your long-term ability to play cleanly and with some sort of endurance, because having that higher spring tension will go ahead and assist you in those long sets and help kind of take a little bit of that tension off of your leg when you're straining those muscles. So it's kind of a balancing act there on what works for you based on your size and everything. And as I mentioned, with the chain-driven pedal, double chain on here, and the normal set spring that comes on the DW5000 pedal, kind of about 3/4 tension worked for me on both my main and my slave pedal, just personally right now. And then as far as the next thing you can go ahead and work on is maybe changing your beater that comes with your pedal. There's the standard DW5000 beater that comes with the pedal. It's kind of this one that has the felt end and then the hard plastic end on the back side. Played with that for quite a while. Then I got into the exploring the options of a different beater style. I saw some of the drummers that I liked online using a more hammerhead style beater with maybe a full metal end on it. Just personally, we play a lot of quick triplets, faster double bass pedal notes, and the stuff we're trying to go towards in that metalcore genre. So I was looking for a little bit more power, a little bit more speed, without having to work quite as hard, use as much leg muscle. So really what I found, testing a couple beaters, I found this hammerhead style worked for me. Then once you find a beater that kind of feels right for you, the next thing you can do is messing around with the weights. So that's going to drastically change how the beater feels when you push down on the pedal. So you can change either you can adjust the beater height. So in order to adjust the beater height on the DW5000, there's a little tiny screw on the backside that you can use a drum key for. Right now it's just the drum key I keep on my desk. You can loosen it and you can move that beater up and down in order to change the height of the beater, which is ultimately going to change the way that it feels when it swings. You have a higher beater, feels like you get a little bit more power, but it's a little bit slower to respond. When you lower that beater, you're going to get a little bit quicker motion out of it, but it's going to feel like it has a little bit less power when it hits the drum. So those are just kind of things as well to explore with. Are you looking for a little bit more power and precision, or are you looking to play a little bit quicker notes? From there, I went and explored. Okay, I found a head that I like. I found the sound that I like from a beater. Next, I was looking at how can I make this beater right for me. It was a little bit lighter than I was used to with the standard DW 5000 pedal beater. So ultimately, I started exploring adding weights to it. So that was a whole nother sector that I kind of got into. Took a lot of time, kind of a lot of aggravation finding what really worked for me. Ultimately, I found that some standard weights off of Amazon, really just some basic drum weights, nothing too fancy. Threw these on, put them in the middle. Just, you know what, I didn't really know where to start. I was like, let's just put them in the middle, see how that worked out. Ultimately, the extra power, I already found I like the sound coming out of the beater when it made contact. I like that punchier note that I get from a little bit heavier beater. So ultimately that worked out for me. However, the beater felt a little bit sluggish, felt a little bit hard for me to push down, felt like I had to use a little bit more, even with the ankle technique, just a little bit of leg to get it really moving. So then I explored moving it up and down on the shaft of the beater. Ultimately, I found that made a huge difference. So moved it all the way up just to see how that felt. Moved it all the way down. Moving it all the way up, I felt like I got that power. I got that tone that I wanted. But ultimately, it was just such a heavy beater for me personally with this pedal and this spring tension that I was already used to. Felt like it was a little bit too heavy for me to really get the speed that I wanted out of it, especially when playing those 16th notes. So ultimately, I messed around with it a little bit, brought it down all the way to the bottom, and then I felt like I was losing that power again and that punch that I wanted out of my beater, especially when I switched this hammerhead. So ultimately, I ended up just playing around with it a little bit, which is something I've once again learned you have to really do, is kind of just test what works for you, because what works for somebody else based on their play style, their size, just really the way their foot makes contact with the pedal is going to be different. For me, I found about 3/4 of the way up the shaft worked for me. It was a good balance of both power coming from the beater head, as well as responsiveness that I really wanted as well for those quick notes. So those are two things that really, changing that spring tension and then messing around with the beater and then the weight of said beater really worked for me. Then from there, still wasn't getting exactly the responsiveness I wanted. After I changed all that, I found, you know what? I feel like the pedal feels a little bit lackluster, as if I didn't have the tension that I wanted. Even though the spring tension felt right, I felt like I was hitting the bottom of the pedal. And something I didn't know for quite a while, even reading through some Reddit posts, watching some other YouTube videos, is that adjusting the footboard was an option. So I originally thought, hey, they put this chain on here, this is just where it's at, this is where this footboard is set. Another option I found made a huge impact was the footboard height. So let's talk a little bit about that. So for me, I ended up taking the footboard height, moving this chain as far back as it would go to increase the height of my pedal. Really for me, what that did is allowed me to have this tension a little bit lower and still get the responsiveness and the power that I wanted out of it based off my foot placement. Brought the pedal up a little bit against my foot a little better, and felt like the pedal kind of sticked to my foot a little better when I was playing those fast notes, and I didn't feel that sloppiness that some people say with a chain-driven pedal versus the direct drive you can get. So for me, it kind of bridged that gap and made this a very responsive setup for me. It was a night and day difference. I moved this 2 links back and brought that pedal up a good bit and just made it feel that much more responsive, and I just felt like I had control of the pedal the entire time. So really messing with those 3 things. I mean, this process sounds like it was quick, but it really was about as I mentioned from the start, about 6-month process of the first thing I did is right out the gate, we all wanted to play some quick metal type music. That's the first thing we knew, and really for me, I was the lacking factor on that. Wasn't able to play those quick notes, and even when I could, they just weren't powerful, they weren't consistent. I found obviously technique is a big part of that, but then second to that was just having the pedal set up properly for me, which in of itself is a big undertaking. Just figuring out how to make all these adjustments. There are quite a few of them, and then what adjustment really is right for you. So taking all those into consideration, the last thing that really just brought me over the edge on being able to play a little bit more consistent notes and get the power that I wanted and the sound that I wanted was something I didn't even understand was related to the double bass pedal, and that is seat height adjustment. So for me, I use a tractor style throne for my drum setup. Doesn't matter really what you use, but I didn't understand that seat height adjustment would make a huge impact on the way that I play the double bass or the single bass, even on songs where we're not using the double bass side of things. Makes a huge impact. Having your seat set up to a place where you can lift your feet off the ground, you don't feel like you're falling, your weight shifting in one way or the other, so your feet are really relaxed on the pedal, on the up and down motion. You're not really worried about your balance. Your feet aren't really taking a lot of that weight. They're just moving freely, so you can get that responsiveness and the speed. And for me, that took tons of adjustment. Moving the throne up about a half inch, trying it again, moving it down about an inch, seeing where that took me, and just playing around with it quite a bit. For me, I found about 6 feet tall, found that I needed a little bit higher throne height in order to get the feel that I wanted, especially because I play heel up. So this will all depend once again on if you play heel up, heel down, what you really are doing, trying to use the ankle technique. But for me, playing heel up, I found that I needed the seat a little bit higher than I ever thought I would, because off the get-go, moving the seat down for me in my early drumming times made it easier. And that's something come to find now, watching a few other videos on that, reading about it. Making the seat lower and lowering the spring tension will make you feel like you're improving sometimes, may make it feel like it's easier for you, but it's kind of a shortcut that ultimately I found when I was trying to play consistent, strong notes. Didn't really work out when you're trying to actually go and, if you're trying to jam, just hang out in your garage, completely fine. Just do whatever you want to have fun with it. But when you're trying to make those consistent notes and ultimately want to record something professionally, play something live, really being able to replicate what you're doing consistently, I found I needed a little bit more spring tension, and I needed to get that seat placement, that throne placement, to a spot where I felt comfortable playing for long periods of time. And I wasn't straining my foot for those, 4 or 5 hour practice sessions that we do. So those are just a few of the things I found to be really helpful for me right out the gate. That spring tension, the beater, the weight on that, really just the pedal adjustment as far as where your footboard's going to be, the height of that, which you can adjust on these chain-driven pedals pretty easily, and I can make another video on how exactly to do that. That's a little bit of a undertaking, taking off the chain. But you can do it. It took me one quick simple YouTube and just popping that chain off and some tools and most people have in their house, needle nose pliers, and was able to pop that off and adjust that pretty quickly. And then throne height, just lifting my throne up 2-3 inches made a world of difference. So just a few things I found helped me. If you like this video, once again, go ahead, like, subscribe. I'll be making some more drum videos like this. Other things that I found have helped me as far as drum heads, sticks, other things I didn't even know really would impact my playing that ended up making all the difference. So yeah, catch you on the next one.